Hey everyone, and welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan with Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Rube, how you doing?
It's Dallas week.
It is Dallas week.
Fun week.
I did something really silly. I saved it for the podcast.
You?
Yeah. On my way to the office today, I drove to the NovaCare complex.
Did you really?
Drove to the NovaCare complex, went through security, said hi to the security guard, was about to park and went, oh no, wait a second. So I had to pull out. And then the security guard's looking at me like, what are you doing? So I had to explain to him, which it's a tough thing to explain. I don't even know if he knows our office is over, like across the street.
Right.
But here I am.
Well, there's a story that Joe Banner told about how, when Andy Reid was here, Joe and Andy would talk every morning on the phone as they drove into work. And the NovaCare complex opened. And so the Eagles moved all their offices from the vet to the NovaCare complex. I guess this is about, when did the NovaCare open? 2003, maybe? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking, and all of a sudden, Joe stops talking and says, I can't believe I just did this. And he's like, what did you do? He said, I just drove to the vet.
Yeah.
And got out of my car and realized I don't work here anymore. But anyway, yeah, that's what that reminded me of. It's not a great story, but it's funny.
Well, sometimes you're in the car, like I was listening to a podcast and I was just kind of in that world, and I do that drive every day. And then kind of it's like you wake up and you're there and you go, wait a second, I'm not supposed to be here.
Well, I mean, we come here and to NovaCare, for me, I get off 95.
Yeah, it's like one turn different, right?
Yeah. So you're either in the right lane or the left lane. And I've done that, but I haven't actually pulled into the parking lot.
Yeah. Having to explain it to the security guard was weird. All right. We have a lot to actually talk about today. It is Cowboys week. It's a fun week. And it's a fun week, not just because of the rivalry, but because this game really matters for this season. It's fun that both teams are so good. So we'll get into some of the matchup a little bit later. Some news that came down on Wednesday that we'll have our first chance to talk about on the injury report and with the roster construction. So we'll get into some of that and a few other tidbits along the way. But Rube, it is fun that so much of this, and we've talked about it like last few years have been really fun because for a lot of this rivalry, it matters to fans, but both teams haven't been good. So it's really fun to have both teams be legitimate contenders for this game.
Yeah, and there were long stretches where the Eagles were good and Dallas wasn't, and vice versa. So in their history, there haven't been a lot of years where they were both good. And there were in the 90s, they played each other in the playoffs a couple times, and a little more recently. We won't talk about that. I think that was Banjo Night. That was Banjo Night with Don. Banjo Night with 5. But they're both really good. And I think if the Eagles win this game, the way the Niners are playing, look, they're not going to clinch anything. They're not going to, but it would give them tremendous positioning for that number 1 seed if they can win this game. And also, it would start off this stretch of six games with a W and take some pressure off. And it would take the pressure off that the second Dallas game would be a must win, because if they lose,
then it's like, all right, that second Dallas game becomes huge, and then you got to go on the road and do it.
Right. And look, things haven't come easily against the Cowboys in recent years. They haven't beaten the Cowboys when the Cowboys had a winning record since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And
so, yeah, I get all this stuff, but sometimes I listen to it, I'm like, but does it really matter?
It doesn't. It really doesn't. As far as, but it's interesting to look at.
It is.
What Rasul Douglas did in a game in 2018 has no bearing on what Slay's going to do Sunday. But when you look at the big picture, and it's something fans do, and I'm sure the team doesn't. And they weren't. Most of these guys weren't here. Maybe BG, Fletcher, Kelsey. They were here for some stretches where the Eagles couldn't lose to Dallas, and they were here for some. But the whole 7-1 thing, 2 of those games were, and that's against Dak. 2 of those were games at the end of the year where the Eagles didn't have anything to play for, and they played their subs, and Dallas played Dak. But they still haven't. They beat them once in the last 8 meetings, and they got to prove that they can beat them.
Yeah, to me, this game is fun because I think from 2022 on, the Eagles are a different team, right? They're just a completely different team.
Yeah.
especially with the jump Jalen Hurts took.
I would even say from the roots growing underground speech is when they became an elite team.
Sure.
That moment.
When we all laughed.
I did not laugh.
I didn't either. I laughed at the fact that he said flowers to us, but he said plants to the team. It's unfortunate for him. But like last year, Eagles beat Cooper Rush, and then the Cowboys beat Gardner Minshew, who played really well.
Right.
But I mean, this game is going to be more fun, at least going into it, because you have Dak and Jalen both playing.
Yeah.
Even if Jalen's a little banged up.
Yeah. And Dak's such an interesting guy to me. Because, obviously, what is he, 2-4 in the postseason? So he hasn't, I wouldn't even say he's an elite player because he doesn't have the postseason success.
Mm-hmm.
But he just wins a lot of games in the regular season. And he doesn't make a ton of mistakes. He's accurate. And against this team, he just raises his level. He always has. 17 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in those 8 games. I did notice on the road this year, he's got 3 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Mm-hmm. They're 2-2 on the road. So it's a good Dallas team. They do some things really well. I don't think it's a great Dallas team. I think the Eagles are a significantly better team. But I just need to see him beat this team.
Yeah, it's fair. Where would you have Dallas when you're looking at the NFC? I guess it's really Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers, Lions.
Yeah. Although I put the Seahawks in there.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Seahawks.
I mean, they're 5-2 now. Yeah. I'd go Eagles 1. I guess you got to go Detroit. I mean, Detroit is 6-2. They got killed that it's weird.
And their biggest game that we thought was going to be like the best game of that week.
Yeah. I'd probably still go, I might go Seattle 2. I really like the way they're playing.
They're playing well.
I'd go Seattle 2. I'd probably go between Detroit. I'd probably go Dallas 3, Detroit 4. Either way with those two. I think they're very close.
49ers have dropped that far in your
3 straight losses.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Some questions about By the way, I don't think Purdy should have played in that game.
Yeah, and then when he hit his head and he stays in.
Yeah.
Where's
they
have a guy, right?
They got a guy. Where's the sideline neurologist?
Yeah.
Well, that was
in the box, right? Like that's his one job is
you got one job.
Like to find players who might suffer head injuries, and you have a quarterback who came into the game just getting over one. Yeah, that was a rough moment.
Yeah. I think the aura around Brock Purdy has dissipated a little bit.
Yeah, everything's not perfect for him. And I think that was a big question. If they started to lose some pieces, how would he perform? Would he be able to still carry the team? And he hasn't been able to do that. So I think that's fair. And the players they've been missing on offense are key players.
And the surprising thing to me is they haven't been as good on defense, and they had most of them. And they got Chase Young, which will help. But
yeah, that'll help. They needed some. It's funny to think about them, but they did need some edge rush.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
And he's still playing really good.
Yeah. Now, out of all those teams, the Eagles are the only one, I believe. Are they the only team in the NFL that's undefeated in their conference? I think they are. Yeah, they're the only team that hasn't lost. So that's, you don't want to lose to the Jets, although the Jets somehow are 4-3. I'm not really sure how.
Good defense.
The defense is great. Really good.
The Jets are great. And we saw with the Eagles, like they will make you play a ugly brand of football and they will just try to suffocate you.
Yeah. And they're good at it. Their defense is really good, but if you're going to lose a game, lose to an AFC team. Mm-hmm. It's not going to hurt you in the tiebreaker. So a win puts them at 8-1 and puts the Cowboys at 5-3.
A nice little cushion there.
No teams won the NFC East back-to-back since 03 and 04. So.
It is worth pointing out the Eagles are about to go in this really tough stretch. The Cowboys, if you lose this game to Dallas, after they play the Giants, then at Carolina, then the Commanders, then it gets tough for them because they have Seattle, Eagles, and the Bills. But they have 3 pretty winnable games right after this Eagles match.
Yeah, Eagles don't have any of those layups looming till late in the season. Yeah. Probably Giants, Arizona Giants is going to be like whatever they are. After,
get to that
after 14 games, just add 3. Pretty much.
If they need it.
if they need it, which I kind of think they will.
We'll see. It's a long way to get there.
Yeah, but we're at the point
we
now.
Didn't think they were going to need them at the end of last year, and they did.
Yeah,
so.
Because Jalen got hurt. Minshew did play well against Dallas. That was Quez really wasn't a good game for him.
No,
it's interesting though, and this is now what's 8 plus 18 is 26 straight weeks the Eagles have either had or shared the best record in the NFL.
I could have done that math.
I know. And then
I was hoping you were going to give me, I was like, I can show off here.
It'll be 27 because they're guaranteed to either have or share the best record in the NFL next week.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be 27 straight weeks with the best record in the league.
Doesn't come around often. Enjoy it.
It's incredible. I mean, and I was thinking about this morning, like, there haven't been a lot of extended stretches of success in this franchise's 91-year history. 47 to 49. They got to 3 championship games and won 2 of them. I didn't have to say anything. Dave's just like, the jokes just write themselves.
I like that we've gotten to the point where I don't have to actually even say it anymore.
It's unspoken. And even our followers, like, just, I tweeted something out about Greasy Neal, and some guy on Twitter, I don't even know, is like, what kind of quote was he?
Did you even, I tweeted something last week about you, and I didn't tag you in it. Someone asked because the trade deadline was Halloween, and said, I hope we get an emergency podcast on Halloween. And I said, Rube hopes we don't. He's going out trick-or-treating in a Steagles uniform.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
I wore that last year. I don't want to wear it again. So the late 40s, like even in 60, they won the championship. But like 2 years before that, they were 2-9-1. 2 years after that, they were 3-10, 3-9-1 or something. So, Vermeil, they had like 3 or 4 really good years in a row with a Super Bowl appearance. And then Big Red. But like even Doug's championship year, that was kind of it wasn't sustained. It wasn't the new normal. What's crazy is the last Eagles head coach to win 10 games back-to-back seasons was Chip.
Yeah.
How weird is that? Now 3 wins in the last 10 will,
Yeah, somehow I think they'll get there.
They'll get there, but it's, they haven't had back-to-back 10-win seasons since Chip Kelly was the first 2 years.
Yeah.
So
obviously injuries played a huge role in those Doug years.
Yeah. Yeah. No question about it. And, but but
also roster construction. It was like, try to do it again. Whereas this time it feels like, there's some of that, but it's not mortgaging the future to do it.
And I just think that COVID year just derailed a lot of things, guys walking around who didn't even know each other with masks on and NovaCare. And it was a difficult year for everybody, including Doug. And then Doug got COVID, right, during the year.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know how we got on that, but I guess the point is
you just started talking about it. What do you mean?
But my point was that there haven't been a lot of extended stretches of success.
Yeah.
And I just feel like they're at the beginning or into one of them, because you have the owner, you have the GM, you have the coach, and you have the quarterback, and none of them are going anywhere.
We thought we had that before here.
Yeah, no, I know, but it feels. It feels
different. I agree.
It feels different, and I don't really expect Jalen to go Carson here. I don't think Howie's going to retire. What if he did? What if he just said, I had enough?
What would he do?
I can't imagine any other job he'd be.
Yeah, he's made enough money, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
I know he wants to run a charity at some point, and he could do that while he's.
Yeah.
What job could Howie do? Good organizational ability, thinks quickly on his feet, fleeces AFC teams and trades. I don't know. Yeah. I'll have to ask him that.
What else he would do?
Yeah.
If you don't, I'm going to take that pen from you.
Sorry.
All right.
I need a pen that doesn't.
Yeah, we need a non-clicky pen. I have a pencil over here. You want that?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Here you go. All right. I heard it a few times. I was like, what is that sound? Give me that pen. All right. Let's move on a little bit. Some news on Wednesday. Cam Jurgens' 21-day practice window has been activated. He's still on IR. We can practice this week. I think there's a good chance he plays. And then the Eagles sign Julio Jones to their 53-man roster. They didn't have to do it yet. They still had an elevation, but maybe that's a little reward in a way for him.
But I mean, you get paid the same amount.
Yeah, but he's on 53 now.
Yeah, it was a little curious to me because it told me maybe Cam isn't ready.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
You can't keep cutting Mario Goodrich. He's not on the team anymore.
Keep trying again. And then EJ Jenkins, they signed a tight end to the practice squad to take Julio Jones' spot.
And they got a couple tight ends banged up, so they probably need him for reps.
Yep.
So,
Cam, though, like, what do you make of that? Do you think he's back? Because if this game wasn't so important, and I know they don't think like this, but maybe they do a little bit. You'd say, well, the bye week's coming up. Don't rush it.
Yeah, they don't look at it like that. If he's healthy, he'll play. Yeah. They need him. And I think Sua started out really well and kind of, as you often see, came back to earth a little bit. I like how Tyler Steen played in those 6 snaps he had. He played well.
He looked fine.
But they need Cam Jurgens. He's really good. And I think they really miss him in the running game. I think it's a big part of why they haven't run the ball well. He's a much better run blocker than Sua. And, he's a solid guy. I mean, you pointed out, we've seen him walking. We saw him yesterday. He looked like you couldn't tell he was hurt.
Yeah, he's going to do an interview after today's practice. Because yesterday on Wednesday, the Eagles held a walkthrough. So he hasn't actually practiced.
But the locker room is open before the walkthrough.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to really talk to him about.
Mm-hmm.
So he said he talked today. So we'll see how he's doing. I think he's going to play.
Yeah, I kind of think so.
Usually, if a guy is on IR for 4 weeks, he plays. If he's on longer, like if it's like a 10-week IR,
they'll ramp up.
They ramp up the extra week. It seems like that's the thing. So we'll see. I'm surprised they haven't put Bradley Roby on IR.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's go through the injury report because he was did not participate on Wednesday, and it's such a tricky thing to phrase because the Eagles don't they haven't been practicing on Wednesdays, so they have a walkthrough, but they have to release an injury report per NFL rules, so it becomes an estimation. If we had practice today, Bradley Roby would not have practiced.
Right.
Yeah,
but he could have been out there running around doing something. In baseball, they have
he has a shoulder injury.
Yeah, I meant figuratively running around, participating to some extent. In baseball, if you go on, what do they call it, the disabled list?
IL now.
IL
list, yeah.
It's not the disabled list?
No.
Injury list?
Yeah.
I guess that's better. I'll still call it the disabled list. Sorry. I still call the Titans the Oilers. So in baseball, like if you haven't played for 4 days, then you go on the injury list, you can retroactively, like if it's 15 days, it goes back to the last time you played. I wonder if they could do that in football.
I don't think
Bradley Roby has missed 2 games. This would be his 3rd. He goes on IR. He only has to miss 2 more. I'm just throwing it out there.
It's not an awful idea.
Something for the competition committee to look at after they ban the tush push this spring.
I'll bother Rich McKay with that one.
Just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's not terrible. Because sometimes you don't really know the extent, or sometimes the guy can tweak it again. Or, but so if you don't if he hasn't played in 2 games, he's not practicing to start the week. Unlikely to play, and this would be a big matchup to get him back for.
Sure.
So this will be his 3rd game, I guess. With the bye week, the Eagles are hoping he'll be back for the Chiefs game after the bye.
I guess, yeah. Because if he misses 4, then they should have put him on IR.
Yeah. But
they could use him.
You're guessing a little bit. They could certainly use him. The nickel spot has been a little up and down all year.
They've had 8 different guys play the slot, if you include like Zach McPherson at the start of camp, which is crazy, really.
Yeah. Grant Calcaterra didn't practice. He has a concussion. We'll see how long it takes him to get back. Nick Sirianni mentioned they're going to take things slowly with him, and they should.
I could see him going on IR, honestly.
I think that maybe. I did see him walking around yesterday.
Yeah, we saw him in the locker room.
So that's a good sign.
Right.
There are levels to this with concussions, and
sometimes guys just stay home and in the dark.
So it was good to see him.
Right.
Didn't try to bother him and talk to him, but it was just good to see him.
Yeah.
If you don't know his story, I mean, he retired in college from football because of concussion issues. So when,
3.
yeah, so when his name pops up with a concussion, it's a little different.
Yeah, and then he worked as a firefighter.
Mhm.
No jokes about.
We got those off
Yeah.
last year.
Draft weekend. He worked as a firefighter, and then he started talking to a neurologist who said you're not at additional risk if you play again. And he played for SMU
Mhm.
for a year, caught like 35 passes, and Eagles drafted him in the 6th round, maybe.
Yeah, 6th round.
Hasn't caught a pass this year, has he?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. They have 2 tight ends that don't really
Catch the football. Yeah, I mean, Calcaterra doesn't play an awful lot. Stoll's role isn't to catch the football.
But it is interesting.
Yeah, this could be a chance to see Albert O for the first time.
I would
Eagles
think he'd
traded
play.
for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, yeah, we're excited to see Albert O. He's going to play like 5 snaps.
Probably.
You know.
Yeah.
Boston Scott missed practice for a personal reason. Limited. Actually, let's skip the full because this was the biggest news of the injury report. Jalen Carter, a full participant with his back injury.
Huge.
Yeah, that's big because, he's obviously a great player, but he missed the game with the ankle injury. The Eagles are 7-0 when he plays.
That's right.
And then the back injury last week, he played 17 snaps. He left the game and then he came back and then he had to leave again. So it's a good sign that it looks like he's going to be able to play.
And backs can be tough. So you're always concerned when you see a back injury, and certainly good to see him full.
Yeah,
they need him.
When I was covering Wade Phillips once, he was the interim head coach for a while.
He was interim head coach like 3 different teams.
Yeah.
He's like the winningest interim head coach ever.
Well, he was the interim head coach when I was covering the Texans, and Arian Foster had a back injury, and we asked him, like, oh, when did he suffer this back injury? And Wade goes, about a week back.
Yeah, it's an old Otho Davis joke.
Yeah, but it was like one of those moments
and
where
Wade was here when Otho was here.
So. Yeah, that's probably, yeah. But it was one of those moments where a coach tells a joke, everyone laughs, but you're like, yeah, but actually, could you tell us when he got that injury?
Yeah.
I don't think he did. Yeah, but it's good to see Jalen Carter back. They'll need him, especially, when they traded Contavious Street, that was probably the biggest takeaway from it. No shade at Contavious Street, but if you're willing to trade him, it probably means the other injuries at that position are not significant enough to hold on to him.
That's what I would think.
Limited. It's just a new thing this year. Cam Jurgens, limited. You used to not have to list the guys who are still on IR on the injury report, but that's changed this year. We noticed that when Nakobe Dean was coming back. So Cam was officially limited in his first practice. Sua limited too with that hip injury that forced him out of 6 snaps.
Right.
Give credit to Sua, by the way.
For coming back and playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jack Stoll, ankle. He hurt that during the game. I noticed that he toughed it out. Milton Williams, a shoulder injury. That dude plays through everything. And Jordan Davis, the hamstring. I thought he was hampered by it in the game.
I would think so, yeah.
And it was funny. Me and Clarky were watching him before, like when they were out there like stretching it, and he was working with Ted Rath to see if he could go. Me and Clark walked away going, I don't think he's going to play. So we were a little surprised to see him play through that, but he didn't look.
How many snaps did he play?
17.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that.
There's something to watch in this game.
Yeah, because it's hard for a hammy to heal when you're playing.
Yeah, especially a big. I don't know if this makes any sense. It's a big hamstring. You think that's harder to heal?
I've never measured his hamstrings. I don't know.
He's bigger leg, bigger hamstring, right?
I guess that makes sense, but I never really thought about it in those terms.
Mm-hmm. Every time Jordan Davis has been here 2 years, every time I look at him, like, he's really big.
Big guy.
Yeah. Mountain. That's all from the injury report and the roster moves. What do you make of the Julio thing, though? It is a little weird. You had an extra elevation. They did this with Braden Mann, too.
Yeah, I don't get it. There's a reason how we wouldn't do it if there wasn't a reason. But I can't imagine what that reason is.
Yeah. So the rub here is that if the Eagles activate Cam Jurgens, they'll need to find another roster spot.
Right.
The roster is full at 53. So
yeah, that's why I was kind of thinking maybe he's not ready, because why do you, unless they're putting somebody else on IR? Maybe
that could be
Calcaterra.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my first thought. Calcaterra goes on IR. Look, this is his 4th concussion. So it's his first in a few years, but you don't mess around with that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, let's move on a little bit. Kenny Gainwell has become a big topic, which is how you...
Hang on, I have to get on my
probably
Instagram
I was like, what is he doing? It's a good joke. Probably the mark of a 7-1 team that like the biggest qualm fans have is about the second running back, but that's where the Eagles are. And Gainwell had a really costly fumble in the game on Sunday, and he's getting a lot of snaps. He's getting a lot of reps. He's getting crucial moments in the game. Nick Sirianni really went to bat for him on Wednesday.
He really did, and really in strongest terms imaginable, gave him a vote of confidence that he is the number 2 back. And it's not just the fumble. I mean, and we talked about this, I think, on the last week. I mean, he's averaging 3 yards a carry. Mm-hmm. It's the lowest by an Eagles running back halfway through the season or 8 games into the season in 25 years. Charlie Garner was at 2.7 in 98. There's only 2 backs that have a lower rushing efficiency than him. One of them is Miles Sanders, oddly enough, his former teammate. He just doesn't look right to me, and they love him in the red zone. They feel like they can trust him. But I think what makes it more intriguing is that we just haven't seen Rashad Penny, who's got this gaudy 5.7 career rushing average, and I thought he was going to be a part of the offense. Not a big part, but I thought he'd be a part. And then you have Boston Scott, who's just been a really reliable role player over the years.
Good special teamer.
Which
and matters if you're talking third running back.
And a really, really good goal line runner, short yardage runner, and never fumbles either. So it's just weird. It's weird that they've shown so much trust and faith in Kenny. And, Kenny did some good things last year. He had the Giants postseason. He was like 12 for 112. He averaged like 9 yards a carry. But during the season, he wasn't an elite player.
No, I think until the playoffs, you would have said you were a little disappointed with his second year.
Yeah. And I'll just give a couple of the quick quotes from Nick here very quickly. He's the number 2. He's our number 2 because we believe it right now. He's the second best running back on our team. I can't make it any clearer than that.
To point out, though, he was, in their estimation, the first best running back on their team in week 1.
That's right. Why do you think they're so married to him?
I don't think they're lying. I think they trust him. And part of it is that they've had him for longer than Swift. And I think a lot of it is pass protection.
He's okay.
But he's the best they have.
I think Boston's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, but in terms of the top 2, he's a better pass protector than Swift.
Yeah, I agree.
That does matter. And it's funny because like Nick was asked specifically about why he's the number 2. I don't think any people really have a huge qualm that he's the number 2. I think it's the usage specifically in the red zone that people are like, well, why? Yeah. Why not have your most explosive player on the field in those situations? At least that's the way I look at it. I think you're trying to score. Put DeAndre Swift on the field. I have no problem with Kenny Gainwell as the 2-minute back.
Yeah, I believe in being unpredictable, and I think Boston does some really good things in those 2-minute situations. He's quick. He accelerates. He's got some great moves in traffic. He's been a really good player. This is his 6th year here, and there's a reason for that. Not many players have been here as long as Boston Scott, and I just like him. I just think he's a good player, and I'd like to see a little more variety in the running attack in general. I just think he's our this. It's like teams know exactly what you're going to do.
Yeah, but I don't know if that matters. Like if you know who the 2-minute back is.
If you see Boston Scott all of a sudden out there in the red zone or in 2-minute, maybe it's something they haven't prepared for. I don't know. I just think being unpredictable helps. I think having a variety helps. I think changing things up helps. I'd love to see Swift in there in a red zone situation.
Which he gets some
occasionally.
Well, he scored a touchdown the other day.
He did, which he probably shouldn't have. But that's another question. And Gainwell, like I mean, he had the game against the Giants, a team that had given up at that point. They were getting blown out. Mostly those yards came at the very end of that game. I mean, he did it. It was a great performance, but it was also an anomaly. And then, like against the Giants, he averaged the 49ers averaged like 3.6, and he didn't do a lot in the Super Bowl. None of the running backs did. Miles certainly didn't. I just like to be more unpredictable in how they're used, and I'd like to see a little more Boston Scott. And I guess we'll never see Rashad Penny unless somebody gets hurt. I didn't expect him to be buried like this.
Yeah, it's just tricky though, because you're not going to have 4 running backs active on game day,
right?
And we know who the top 2 are, and Boston brings special teams,
right?
So, yeah, it's kind of what it is.
Yeah. No, you're
Although
right.
Nick's saying, I love the Nick. Like, well, when Jalen throws an interception, we don't bench him. When AJ drops a pass, we don't bench him. All right, I mean. Like, Nick, come on.
Yeah, I think it's a little different. You're talking about Kenny Gainwell here.
Yeah.
He said if Brian Johnson doesn't call the right play, we don't replace him with Kevin Patullo.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Look, Nick's going to bat for his guys. That's why he is who he is.
Yeah.
That's what he should do. It's funny to hear it.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous comparison, but
yeah, it's exactly the same, Nick. Yep.
That was pretty funny. Yeah. We'll see we'll see what happens if Gainwell continues to struggle. We'll see if there's a change. Doesn't look like there will be.
Yeah, it doesn't. All right, let's take a break. We have some Eagles-Cowboys matchups on the other side.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and NissanUSA.com today.
Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We're back, Rube. Big game on Sunday. It's funny, we know the Dallas Cowboys pretty darn well. You see them twice a year, so you get to know this team a little bit. They have a lot of the same pieces. But I figured we could just go through some of the matchups like we normally do and try to figure out some of the keys to this game.
Sure.
Let's start when the Eagles are on defense. CeeDee Lamb is the Cowboys' best receiver. Really, there's a big delta now. It used to be they had all these weapons with him and Amari Cooper and Gallup pre-injury, but it's Lamb's really the guy. It's a tricky matchup because he plays so many snaps in the slot. 63.7% this year have come from the slot. I wouldn't expect that to change in this game.
Unless it goes up.
What do the Eagles do?
I don't know if they have a whole lot of options.
Last week we saw it was a mixture of Sidney Brown on early downs and then Eli Ricks on third down.
I don't think they want to keep moving Bradbury at this point. Although, that matchup is a little scary. Josiah Scott, I thought, played well in his first game. There's not a lot of options. Bradley Roby's not coming through that door. Vontae Maddox isn't coming through that door. So you could continue to mix it up or
Zach McPherson isn't either, but he is walking. Again, I saw him the other day.
Oh, you see Zach?
Yeah.
That's good. Good for him. There's not a lot of ideal options.
Would you consider the Bradbury thing this week?
I think I would. I don't think they want to do it, but
So something to keep in mind with that possibility is that, remember that one snap where Slay, I don't know if they showed it on TV copy, he tackled someone and it looked like he knocked the wind out of himself and he was about to come off the field, but then there was a review. So it basically worked like a timeout. He was able to stay on the field.
Uh-huh.
You know who's getting ready to play outside cornerback? Eli Ricks.
I think, yeah.
Not Josh Jobe.
No, I think Ricks is ahead of Jobe.
Well, we didn't know that. I mean, because we haven't seen snap. It's been Eli in the slot, but not at outside. It looks like he's passed Jobe as an outside corner now, too.
That doesn't surprise me. I think he's played better.
I agree with that, but
yeah,
you don't know until you see it.
Right. I'm just about to say.
So when we're talking like through the potential move, it would be Ricks instead of Jobe outside Whether or not that changes your opinion of the move is up to you. But
No, I mean, because look, if you slow down CeeDee Lamb, you're going to beat the Cowboys. I mean, he's their weapon. He's got more than twice as many yards as anyone else on that team.
he's really good.
He's really, really good. I mean, he's not A.J. Brown good, but he's in that next. Well, nobody is. He's in that next group. So
He's the second best receiver in this game. CD.
You have to say so. Well, Julio, body of work. Travis Fulgham not here anymore. They haven't run the ball well.
They haven't, which is
a little surprising.
Yeah,
I think Pollard's one of those guys. Maybe he's better as the change of pace guy with
the lightning to a thunder
with Zeke. Yeah, he's at 3.9. They're averaging 3.9 as a team, and it's hard to run against the Eagles. So I think you can. They have 5 return touchdowns. So they're scoring a lot of points on. I think Bland's got 3 pick sixes.
Yeah,
they've got they got a punt return touchdown. I think somebody no, they don't have a punt return touchdown, but they score in a lot of different ways. 5 return touchdowns. So their offense is okay. They're like a middle of the pack offense, but they score a lot of points because they're getting all these returns. And I mean, they have as many. Bland actually has the most touchdowns on the team. He's tied with CeeDee Lamb, which is unusual.
Bland's good.
He's really good. I mean, defensively, we'll get to that, but their offense, it's not an elite offense. And, Dak is efficient, but he certainly hasn't been explosive. Kevin Byard was talking yesterday about how they're really running their offense differently. They're really a dink and dunk team. They're really good on third down, and they just try to put together long drives without a ton of big plays.
Yeah. Good O-line.
Good O-line.
That offensive line is they might have it intact this week, which we didn't know. Like last week, Tyron Smith missed the game with a stinger, but there's a chance he could be back for this one.
Yeah. It looks like they have two fumble returns, 3 interception returns. So, yeah. But I do, look, if we were coming off the Miami game, I'd feel like the defense was really in a position to shut down Dallas and hold them to 17 points. But after the Washington game, now you're like, well, which defense are we going to get?
Yeah.
So
the Eagles D-line is obviously the motor here, but it's a good Cowboys offensive line.
Yeah.
Zach Martin is still playing at a really high level. The Tyron Smith thing is interesting because if he doesn't play, his backup got hurt last week. So it's either Smith or the third stringer.
Interesting.
At left tackle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I still can't believe I know Hal was getting rid of the ball quick. I just can't believe Eagles only had 1 sack in that game.
Mm-hmm. They should have had 2. I'm with Hassan Reddick. I think the league should, if you have a quarterback in the grasp and he intentionally grounds, you should get a sack.
But it's not a sack.
But you should get credit for a sack.
I'm shocked that Hassan feels that way.
You don't agree with that?
No, I don't.
Why not? It's the same outcome.
But it's penalty yards. So you can only account for the yards one way.
Why can't you just award a sack?
Because it's a penalty. They're penalty yards.
We're not talking about the yards. We're just talking about the play. He should get a little tick in the sack.
So a sack for no yards?
Sure.
All right. While you're on the phone with the competition committee, you can bring that up.
Rich McKay is going to block me.
I think he already has.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm surprised you don't agree with that.
Yeah. I don't like that. Sorry.
You're still.
We'll just have to agree to disagree.
It's like stealing sacks from these guys.
It's like in the NBA, if Tyrese Maxey has a perfect pass to Embiid and he misses the layup, should Maxey get an assist? Like in baseball, you get an assist if the first baseman drops a throw from the shortstop. Shortstop still gets an assist.
I think there's a little false equivalency there.
I don't think so at all. Anyway,
speaking of false equivalency, I love that the NHL, the emergency goalie is just like a guy. This rule. Yeah. So it happened with the Flyers last night. Carter Hart got hurt.
Right.
So the backup goalie becomes a guy who it's like a local guy who's played at a relatively high level, but Like they bring him down. I believe like as soon as the goalie gets hurt, they bring that guy down.
Yeah.
They get him dressed. He's on the bench. And then every once in a while, that guy gets into a game.
That happened a few years ago where the guy won a game,
Mhm,
right?
yeah.
He made a few saves.
Yeah. I think the NFL missed the boat. Like, and I tweeted this last night. So if you follow me on Twitter, you're like, yeah, we know. Stop with this stupid joke. But wouldn't that be a fun outcome? Like, yeah, like San Francisco, if you lose your quarterbacks, you can have an extra one. It's got to be Johnny from the Bay Area who's up in the stands right now, who played at the local college.
Which local college?
San Francisco State.
My friend was a cross-country coach there. I can't believe the NHL does that. I think
awesome.
It's fun.
It's so cool.
Because our Mike Mulhern ended up playing goalie for the Flyers last night, our producer. It's been surprising that they do that. I know the Flyers had just sent their backup goalie to junior to the minor league. Do they have the Phantoms? Is that there? I don't even know. But I know they just
the sport on the ice, the hockey.
What's that? They just sent their backup goalie for conditioning or something in the minor leagues. So they didn't have a backup. But it's hard to believe because it seems to be a position where guys do get hurt. You would think, they would carry a legit backup.
This is better. How fun is that?
I guess it's fun, but not if you're the Flyers.
I think it is even fun for the Flyers. They get to rally around this dude.
So who ended up playing last night? I missed that game. I was watching the baseball game this time.
I mean, who ended up playing?
When Carter Hart got hurt.
Oh, they're backup. They have a backup, but it's like the emergency goalie.
So who ended up coming down to the bench then? Do you know who?
Yeah, I can find the guy's name. Local kid. His name is Daniel Spencer from Gloucester, New Jersey, 29 years old.
Gloucester Township or Gloucester City?
It says Gloucester, so I don't know.
He's and neither one's in Gloucester County.
Okay.
They're both in Camden County. He's apparently a coach at Gloucester Catholic.
Okay.
Daniel Spencer.
That's fun.
He went to Finlandia University. I've never heard of that school. He was a 4-year letterman in golf and in hockey. Huh.
How fun is that, though?
You know who else went to Gloucester Catholic?
Some guy ran track somewhere.
Brownie Ross coached there. Brownie Ross, the Olympic steeplechaser from Villanova. He coached at.
Yeah, everyone knows that. Yeah,
I think they do. Anyway, that's cool. I'm sure Spence was bummed he didn't get in the game. Where's Finlandia University? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's in Hancock, Michigan. That's hockey territory up there. Never heard of Finlandia. Finlandia University will not enroll students for 2023 or 24. That's not good. The Board of Trustees unanimously voted to dissolve the institution.
Oh, really?
This is terrible.
Pretty broken up about this university.
I wonder if they'll have a sale on
existed 45 seconds ago.
I wonder if their bookstore will have a sale on like hoodies and stuff.
Probably. You do like a university bookstore, huh?
I do. Yeah. You get some good deals on. And the stuff's usually well made. It's like woven logos and stuff.
Yeah. That one, you had a brown hoodie on when the Cleveland Browns were here.
T-shirt, yeah.
Or t-shirt.
Brown equestrian.
And
I got at the
I do like buying I think I have a brown sailing shirt.
Yeah.
But you were wearing it when the Browns were here, and some fans was like, Browns, and you're like, I mean, it's the word brown.
It was the security guy at the security gates that we have to go through. And he was like, what do you mean Browns?
Not a bad joke.
Yeah, he wasn't joking.
All right. Let's go to when the Eagles are on offense.
Yes, please.
That Micah Parsons is pretty darn good.
He's pretty good. They've done a good job with him.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that'll keep up. He's a relentless pass rusher. And really that's what he is now. I mean, he's not a linebacker. He's an edge.
32.5 sacks in 40 games, which is in the top 10 ever in the first 40 games of a career. But it's like even more impressive because early in his career, he was not exclusively an edge rusher.
Right. He was really a linebacker at first. He's got 6 this year. It's a really good defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're really fast.
Yeah. And they have other weapons on that line, so it's like it's dismissive to just point out him, but he's the guy who's the most dangerous, and he'll line up on both sides of the line, so it'll be Lane Johnson and Mailata against him, and you do have to give some help. As much as the Eagles put these guys on islands, he's the type of player who does warrant a chip here and there. Week 6 last year, the Eagles did a brilliant job against him. They just ran a bunch of like RPO read option stuff, and they took away his teeth. They made him have to read the plays. It was a great game plan. I don't know if you could do it again anyway, but especially with Jalen's injury.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We might not see any RPOs. I hope we don't. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he has a full sack against the Eagles.
No, have a sack, and it was in his rookie year.
Yeah, so they've done a great
job. He's only
job.
Played them 3 times. He missed the game.
Yeah. But still, an incredible challenge. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, or 1. But yeah, he's a great player. And if you count, it's kind of like on offense. If you can shut down CeeDee Lamb, you're going to have a good chance to slow down their offense. And it's the same way on defense. They've got other really good players, but he's in a class of.
I mean, he's a 2-time All-Pro. He hasn't won Defensive Player of the Year.
I guess who won it last year?
Last year was Bosa.
Oh yeah. But they didn't take the NFC Championship game into consideration.
No, it's a regular season award.
I vote for it. I do know that. Yeah, their secondary is really good.
Probably know why you didn't win it.
What's that?
Nothing.
Their secondary is really good. I mean, they just
even without Diggs, they've held up.
A little surprising they've been so good.
Right after they lost him, though, it was like, maybe they're really going to struggle without him. But Bland's good. Gilmore's still playing at a pretty high level, being an old guy. All the old corners in this game, huh? It's got to be like every 30-plus corner in the league is playing in this game.
Yeah, speaking of corners, I saw Rasul Douglas got traded.
He did, to the Bills, right?
Packers to the Bills.
And he'll be teammates with Linval Joseph.
They signed Linval Joseph?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They've had so many injuries.
Yeah.
3 of the last 4 quarterbacks to face the Cowboys. Only 2 quarterbacks have completed 60% of their passes against the Cowboys this year, Brock Purdy's one, and the dude in Arizona is the other, Josh, who's not there anymore. Not Josh Jacobs. The Arizona quarterback they just traded to the Vikings. Yeah. Josh Dobbs. They're the only quarterbacks that complete 60% of their passes against the Cowboys. So, and they're also the only 2 that didn't throw an interception against the Cowboys. It's a really, really active, athletic, quick defense. They're very good.
I think you can run on the Cowboys a little bit.
I think you can run on them.
Which is like it's a fascinating thing in this game because the Eagles haven't been running very well.
Yeah.
But I think this is a defense you can run against, and you can kind of impose your will. Curious to see if they do it or if they try to do it.
And I just don't like the way Brian Johnson has if it's not working, he's gotten away from it. They only have 23 rushing attempts in the first half of their last 3 games combined.
Wow.
So
putting up points.
Yeah, they're putting up points. I
throwing AJ Brown's not a bad idea.
I agree. I would like to see him be a little more consistent with the run game and not abandon it as quickly as they have.
Yeah, it is kind of strange because early this year, I mean, they were just authoritatively running the football.
Right.
Even when teams knew it was coming, they were still running it down their throat, and they haven't been able to do that recently.
Right. So we'll see how much of a difference Cam makes. I do think it's a team you can run on, and I think they're going to have to. I think it's I think you want to try to control the clock against this team and wear them down, which I think you can do.
Mm-hmm. I don't have much on this, but I did write a story about Jalen Hurts just playing through that knee injury. Fascinating that he was able to play as well as he did. Wins Player of the Week with the fewest rushing yards he's ever had in an NFL start. I mean, it's good stuff. It's it's just the progression of him as a player. It's a couple years ago, never would have thought he'd be able to play a game like that.
No, you're right. And it just shows that we always talk about that evolution in the passing game that takes quarterbacks a few years in the same offense, and he's there now. I mean, I thought it was one of his best games just because of that, because he was forced to play left-handed. I don't know, you won't call it left-handed because his right hand, his left hand's as good as his right hand. But I was really impressed, and he was accurate. He got the ball to the right guy, who's usually AJ, but not always.
Devontae had 99 yards.
Yeah, got it in the end zone, 4 touchdowns. That's the one thing, he hasn't been throwing a ton of touchdowns, but when he needs to.
Well, I think a lot of that's like organizational philosophy. Like they're a running team in the red zone.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's a running threat in the red zone, but you would like to see him throw more touchdowns.
And his passing numbers in red zone were really bad before this game, like really among the worst in the league. So I was really impressed, and I think it's important for, like, if teams are preparing for the Eagles now, they got to look at, like, they have a passer, they have a really efficient passer, and then when Jalen can, when he can run again,
which you hope happens.
At some point. I mean, we don't. Do you have any sense of how serious this is?
Jay Glazer reported it was a bone bruise, so it's something that, like, it's probably going to linger.
Yeah. So we'll see.
And it's like, it's very apparent that it bothers him in game. I mean, we were all watching, like the TV copy showed it pretty clearly.
Yeah. He really only had 1 carry in a game, because the fumble, he never even, that should be an aborted play. It shouldn't be a rushing attempt.
It looked like I'm still waiting to see a good replay. Another story, but it did look like he had the football.
He had possession of it.
And then it looked like he might have like ran into Landon's butt.
Okay.
And it like popped out. It was tough to tell.
Yeah, but I mean, the other 2 rushing attempts were kneel down, so it was 1 or 2. So to be able to take command of a game the way he did is really, really encouraging. Because, look, ideally, I mean, he's always going to run when he's healthy to some extent, but now you feel like even when he's healthy, he could have a game where he throws, 50 out of 50.
Yeah, it's
steps.
really whatever it dictates.
Yeah,
which is fun.
And then if the threat of the run is there, and you throw, now you really have an advantage.
Exactly. Josh McDaniels got fired this week. A little news dump from a team that has to make a lot of news dumps. The Raiders are kind of a mess, but
and the GM.
Yeah, it brings you back to 2021, where like we thought Josh McDaniels was going to be the head coach of the Eagles.
Yeah, he was certainly in the mix.
It's happened a couple times to the Eagles where like the guy, it seems like they really wanted that they don't get, and then they really get the guy.
Yeah.
Like back-to-back times, right? Like Doug Peterson in 16 and then Nick in 21.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you think McDaniels would have done here?
Not well. I just don't think he's a good coach. I don't think he's a good communicator.
Better than he did in Vegas?
I guess.
Okay.
It's hard to tell. I mean, there's more talent here, but it's really hard to tell. I just think he's overmatched, and I think we've seen that in a couple places. I wonder what they'll do.
Yeah, it's funny because I was reading a column from that time period where it was basically framed like McDaniels knows his next move to be a head coach might be his last, so he has to pick the right opportunity. And it was framed as like the Eagles are a mess. And that was kind of a like, it wasn't. It's funny now because we think like, yeah, this is such a great franchise. It runs so well. But at that time, it wasn't viewed like that.
Sure.
It was viewed like, oh, they had to take Nick Sirianni.
No, you're right.
This guy who no one else wanted, because it was like, this GM has too much power. He meddles, and the teams, they're old. They don't have young talent. They don't have a quarterback at that point. So it's like, it's amazing just the perception of how everything changes in a few years.
No, that's so true. And boy, did you watch any of that Raiders game the other night? I mean,
I didn't.
They just looked unprepared.
I saw a little bit of the end of it. I saw Devontae Adams like, dear God, get me out of here.
He did have that look on his face. Garoppolo's a guy that I thought would be at least functional. He stinks. Yeah. I thought it'd be like okay.
No. Can't play.
Can't play.
Or at least they're a mess.
Yeah.
Eagles dodged the bullet.
They sure did.
And you look back at the 7 coaches who were hired in that hiring cycle. Obviously, McDaniels was the next year. Nick is clearly the best. So here are the coaches in no particular order: Brandon Staley, Urban Meyer, Nick Sirianni,
That went well.
Dan Campbell, Arthur Smith, Robert Saleh, David Culley. How would you rank them?
Give me the names again.
Here, I'll slack them to you so you have them in front of you.
All right. Culley can't be last. I know that.
So Sirianni 1.
Campbell 2.
Campbell 2. I agree with that. Would you go Saleh 3?
Probably.
Or Arthur Smith 3?
They would be 3 and 4. I'd go Saleh 3 and
Arthur Smith 4.
Arthur Smith 4.
5.
You'd have to go
Brandon Staley.
Staley 5.
He's done the least with most, though. But still, yes.
Yeah, but
Staley
you can't
5.
put him ahead of Culley and then Urban
6. And then only because we couldn't put him any lower, Urban at 7.
Culley lasted just 1 year and still lasted longer than Urban.
Big shock here. AJ Brown, Offensive Player of the Month.
There you have it. Breaking news on Eagle Eye Podcast.
He had exactly 700 yards receiving in the month.
Really?
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
The first 700-yard month since Calvin in 2012.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I might have started to prepare for this possibility.
We haven't really talked about AJ, but what a joy it is just to watch him play football.
Mm-hmm.
He's something else.
All right.
You think he gets 125 again?
I mean, it's got to end at some point. I think eventually teams are just going to double him and force the Eagles to throw to Devontae, and they'll throw to Devontae, and then Devontae will have a big game.
And he'll have 6 straight.
I don't know if we'll do
I was
that.
looking up. There was a period here's how bad the Eagles receivers were back in like the late 90s and early 2000s. They went 8 years or parts of 9 seasons from like the middle of 96 to early in 04 when what's his name got here, where they had a total of 625-yard games over 9 years.
Yeah,
now they have 6 in 35 days.
It's so funny. Yeah, he's not bad, this AJ Brown.
He's better than I imagined. I mean, I knew he was a good player, and he was great last year. I mean, almost 1,500 yards, but I mean, I couldn't imagine we'd see anything like this.
All right, should we wrap this up? We don't have to give me a prediction, but are you still leaning the Eagles?
Yeah, I'm picking the Eagles, and
I am too.
I think it's just they're due. They're due to beat this team.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're the better team.
I do too. I think they're the better team. They're at home. Yeah, we'll see. It should be a fun game, though. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
And we will be on with a pod right when it's over.
Yeah, we will. This is the time where I remind you, if you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor, click that like button there as well. We appreciate all the love and support. We'll talk to you guys after the game on Sunday before the bye week. That's it for Reuben. I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.